Welcome to the Concrete Briefing. I am your host, Carter Concrete. Today, we are dissecting a narrative that sits at the volatile intersection of high finance, urban legend, and systemic power. We are looking at a multi-generational saga of wealth creation and its subsequent appropriation. This is the story of Black America and the gambling economy, a story that begins in the shadows of the underground and ends in the boardrooms of New York City's most ambitious development projects. Let us strip away the neon lights of modern Vegas and look at the foundation. The modern American gambling economy, specifically the state lottery systems we see today, did not emerge from a government think tank. It was birthed in the Black community through a system known as playing the numbers or the policy wheel. In the early 20th century, specifically in urban centers like Chicago, this wasn't just a game of chance. It was a sophisticated, highly organized enterprise. The men at the helm were the Chicago policy kings. These individuals were not merely gamblers. They were some of the wealthiest Black people in the United States during the 1910s and 1920s. Why does this matter? Because it represents a genuine instance of internal wealth contribution, born out of necessity within a discriminatory economic system that denied Black entrepreneurs access to traditional banks. These racketeers essentially became their own bank. The economic power was so immense that even white gangsters, men whose names are synonymous with organized crime, were documented going to Black numbers operators to ask for backing and permission to enter the market. But where there's massive wealth without state protection, there is a target. This brings us to a period of systemic discrimination and the violent seizure of wealth. Following the end of Prohibition, white organized crime syndicates, desperate for new revenue streams, turned their sights on the lucrative numbers business. In New York, figures like Dutch Schultz moved to take the numbers from the Blacks. The takeover wasn't just about muscle, it was about structural leverage. This is the core of our analysis today. White criminals, by virtue of their racial status, possessed contacts with the crook judges, the crook police, and the crook bankers. When the conflict peaked, the white syndicates could mobilize the legitimate world to crush their rivals. A Black entrepreneur, no matter how wealthy or organized, could not win against a unified front of criminality and corrupt mainstream power. This was exemplified in Chicago when one of the Jones brothers, a policy giant, shared the mechanics of the business with Sam Giancana while in prison. Upon Giancana's release, the Chicago outfit put the squeeze on Black operators, cutting off a 100-year-old bridge into economic legitimacy. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. We are seeing what we call the full circle. The illicit numbers runners of the past have been replaced by legitimate business titans. In a stunning modern development, an investment group including Nasir Jones, the legendary Nasty Nas, has been approved to build or expand what is projected to be the largest casino in the United States in Queens, New York. Simultaneously, we saw the proposal from Jay-Z's group for a Broadway casino be denied. What is the real role of these hip-hop icons in these multi-billion-dollar deals? While Nas is a legitimate investor with his own capital at stake, sources suggest the actual ownership percentages for these cultural figures are often small. These figures are often utilized as a strategic necessity. In the complex arena of urban development, having a Black face on a project is a powerful tool to assuage elements of the Black community and secure essential political sign-offs or tax abatements. We saw this pattern with the Nets Stadium in Brooklyn. Jay-Z's stake was reportedly as low as 0.1%. Yet his name was the catalyst that prevented the local community from causing a problem. Let's dive into the linguistic and cultural roots of this shift. Hip-hop was originally the voice of the voiceless, a medium to discuss social ills and the struggle of the downtrodden. The paradox we face today is one of identity versus industry. Is the ultimate legacy of this cultural movement merely to become a vehicle for capitalism, as usual? When culturally significant figures leverage their influence to sell, to build casinos, we must ask if the economic benefit is truly returning to the community that provided that influence. Statistics indicate that Black Americans gamble at a rate above average. When a legal casino enters a community, there's a risk it acts as a vacuum, sucking the lifeblood out of the local economy. This often leads to a secondary cycle of exploitation by legal racketeers, payday lenders, and check-cashing businesses that thrive on the debt generated by gambling losses. The story of the gambling economy is a microcosm of the American dream and the American obstacle. It began with black innovation and wealth creation that was systematically dismantled by a corrupt alliance of crime and state. Today, as we see black moguls like Nas entering the legal gaming industry, the question of economic legitimacy remains. Is this a new era of wealth? Or is it a continuation of a pattern where the community as capital is extracted rather than invested? The goal must be to ensure that the massive capital generated returns to the community instead of feeding cycles of debt. This isn't just about business. It's about the legacy of wealth. I'm Carter Concrete, and this has been the Concrete Briefing. Stay informed. Stay sharp.